It's unmistakable. And once experienced, unforgettable. The sense of place in southern Louisiana is laced into the watery byways, the currents of the Mississippi, the gumbo, the Cajun Creole culture, and of course, the jazz. It's what makes New Orleans the Crescent City, the Paris of the Americas, the Big Easy. But that sweet sense of place has a harsh and bitter side. This precious bit of land stretched along the Gulf of Mexico lies vulnerable not only to devastating hurricanes like Katrina, but also to destructive floods from the mighty river that drains almost half of the continental United States. Since the early 1700s, the people of Louisiana have struggled to protect themselves from the worst of the Mississippi River's floodwaters by building levees. At the end of the 18th century, levees stretched along the river for 100 miles. In 1879, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers took on the task of taming the river. By 1926, many believed the improved levee system had conquered the Mississippi. The river proved them wrong. In 1927, months of heavy rainfall throughout the Mississippi River Valley caused widespread flooding, inundating 27,000 square miles and displacing 700,000 people. As the swollen river flowed south, pressure built on the levees that protected New Orleans. To avert disaster, officials dynamited a segment of the levee downstream at Carnarvon, creating a gap that released water from the levee system. The city was saved. This success initiated a new strategy for fighting floods. The Corps would continue to improve the levees, but would supplement them with floodways and reservoirs. To protect New Orleans, the Corps would construct a spillway 30 miles upstream, called Bonnet Carre. The spillway would act as a safety valve by diverting water from an overflowing Mississippi River away from the city and into Lake Pontchartrain. As engineering for Bonnet Carre got underway in 1929, the Corps confronted 4 critical questions. Failure to resolve any one of them could result in catastrophe. Would a foundation made of 70-foot-long wooden pilings hold in the site's soft mud? Would the on-site lab succeed in developing a formula that nearly doubled the strength of concrete? Would the temporary hydraulics laboratory constructed on site provide accurate data on which to base a successful spillway design? Would an engineered breach at the site of numerous 19th century levee breaks permit the river to cut a new permanent channel from Bonnet Carre to Lake Pontchartrain? Only the actual operation of the spillway could prove if the Corps had answered these questions correctly. Working against the unknown deadline of the next big flood, the Corps completed the spillway's control structure in 1931. Stretching along the bank of the Mississippi for 1.5 miles, the concrete weir consisted of 350 bays, each with 20 wooden needles. Guide levees along both sides of the floodway were in place by the next year.
Bonnet Carre Spillway was constructed in response to the Great Mississippi River Flood of 1927, after which the Mississippi River Commission abandoned its policy of relying on levees for flood control, and the Bonnet Carre Spillway was the first spillway structure that would divert high water out of the Mississippi River to alleviate pressure on levees below the structure. The structure has 350 bays, each of which contains 20 removable wooden needles. When the decision is made to open the structure, 2 cranes move along the top of the structure and they lift each individual needle out of its setting. The needle's laid across the top of the structure, and when all of the needles are lifted, they allow the water to flow over the concrete weir from the river into the floodway. In January, the very beginning of 1937, the high water levels in the Ohio River indicated to the hydrologists that they were going to experience exceptionally high water levels further down the river, comparable in total flow to the 1927 flood levels. So the Mississippi River Commission made the decision to go ahead and open the spillway. This was going to be a full-scale test. They had hundreds of people marshaled. They had boats in the river. They had men along the floodway levees to make sure that there were no problems with the levees when the spillway filled up with water. And from January 30th to March 7th, the spillway was open and operating. In each opening, it has functioned exactly as it was intended to when designed. It's been a remarkably efficient and successful flood control structure.
Bonnet Carre's floodway stretches for 6 miles between the river and Lake Pontchartrain. While the Corps maintains Bonnet Carre to protect downstream communities, it also manages the floodway's acreage as wildlife habitat and for outdoor recreation. Because fresh river water periodically engulfs the floodway, the ecology of its varied habitats is constantly changing. The floodway's wetlands benefit from the nutrients and sediment delivered by the river water. So beneficial is the influx of fresh water to wetlands that river diversion is used today as a tool in coastal restoration. Absorbing wave energy and reducing storm surge, a buffer of healthy wetlands significantly decreased Louisiana's vulnerability to hurricanes such as Katrina. The spillway is considered an ideal site for developing a river diversion due to the configuration of the structure along the riverbank and proximity to a sediment source from the Mississippi River. A seasonal influx of fresh water would enhance the area's wetlands. Fresh water, nutrients, and sediments enter the spillway and Lake Pontchartrain each spring when the Mississippi River rises due to snowmelt and rainfall in the upper Midwest. The introduction of fresh water into the brackish water estuary of Lake Pontchartrain has long-term benefits to the surrounding ecosystem.
When the Bonnet Carre Spillway structure is fully open, it's capable of diverting 20% of the Mississippi River water into Lake Pontchartrain, and this can freshen the western part of Lake Pontchartrain for up to several weeks. The diversion of fresh water into the spillway itself also provides a number of benefits. The sediments and nutrients help to replenish many of those areas we have in the spillway, and the fresh water also helps to enhance the freshwater fish and the crawfish, as well as to combat coastal land loss. During each opening, we monitor the river water into Lake Pontchartrain to ensure that the lake's ecosystem remains healthy.
People are attracted to places where nature thrives. Bonnet Carre's expansive landscape offers a place for everyone. There's room in the floodway's 7,000 acres for numerous outdoor activities.
We have a lot of recreational opportunities when we're not in a flood control situation. It depends what you would like to do. Would you like to ride an ATV? Would you like to ride a mountain bike on a mountain bike trail? Would you like to go fly a model or see an airplane? Would you like to walk a nice trail? We have all these things at the Bonnet Carre Spillway, and we're in partnership with these groups. When we get together with the groups, first of all, we find out what their goals and objectives are, and then we help them try to have that incorporated with our rules and regulations for the Corps of Engineers.
Clay deposits in the spillway provide further benefit to the region. These deposits are excavated and used in building and restoring the many miles of levees in the area. Upon completion of the excavation, these clay borrow areas are stocked with game fish and enjoyed by many that come to visit the spillway. Like the rest of southern Louisiana, Bonnet Carre is imbued with a unique sense of place. The spillway's distinctive combination of utility and beauty shows us that it's possible to intervene in nature without damaging its character. Gumbo, a Cajun Creole culture. Jazz. Under the protection of Bonnet Carre, the sweet side of southern Louisiana flourishes. It's a place like nowhere else.